Chapter 786, Are You Cheating? The students at Luotian Cultivation College had gradually become used to Lu Shu's unexpected plot twists. Actually, to them, the inter-college contest did not seem that impressive after they had seen the greater world outside through Lu Shu's stories. This was because in reality, your opponents would never care about your life, unlike in school. During this period of time, they felt as if they had experienced all the dangers and miracles that had happened to Lu Shu. Thus, they felt even more uninterested in the upcoming contest. In the meantime, students from the other cultivation colleges were busy voting for their favorite candidate. In fact, there were not many of them in total, and most people would definitely vote for their own schoolmates first. However, they soon realized that there was not a single candidate from Luotian Cultivation College on the list. What was going on? They had heard that Luotian Cultivation College had planned to send 5 people from the species research specialization, but afterwards Lord Lu was banned from the contest. Thus, they were unclear about the current situation. Would they send another team? Anyway, they could not possibly send a 4-people species research team. In any case, without Lord Lu, Luotian probably had no chance of getting the championship this year. However, the other schools soon realized that Luotian students were not interested in voting for candidates from other colleges either. Every vote counted, as that could widen the gap of the number of votes between close rivals. Some people tried to lobby Luotian students into voting for their members. Wu Haosu from our Northwest College is not only a handsome guy, but a powerful man as well. He killed 3 Class Cs of another organization during his mission last year. They talked for so long just to emphasize how impressive their team member was. Then, the Luotian students would log into the forums and sent posts along the lines of Wu Haosu is so cool. Then, how about the voting? They did not vote for a single person at all. Having seen this, Luzhou College thought that their Bainua had a better chance. But Luotian students' response to them was the same. That made the other schools rather upset. Since you were not sending any candidates for us to vote for, what was wrong with you voting for ours? Although we understand that Luotian was not participating in the contest this year, could you at least do something instead of slacking off? A student complained impatiently after wasting so much saliva in lobbying. What's wrong with your Luotian college? You haven't even finalized your list of participants, and all of the students here seem totally uninterested in the contest. Do you not have any sense of honor? We have Class B, S1, replied Luotian students. Ha! So you are really sending in your species research team. But even with Chao Qingxi on the team, why do you think a 4-people group can defeat ours? We have 2 Class Bs, explained Luotian students. Wait, what? Who's the other one? Other students asked in shock. In the past, they only knew that they had 2 Class Bs, Chao Qingxi and Lord Lu. So who was the third one? Were they kidding? After a while, they finally coaxed the information out of Luotian students. Lu Xiaoyu had ascended to Class B as well. In fact, Lu Xiaoyu was famous across all 3 states for beating up everybody during the military camp. Yet, she was only a Class C then, and now she was a Class B. The students from the other colleges started to calculate. In fact, all the other candidates were Class Cs. Casting Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiu aside, who could be defeated by 1 Class C each, they might still win if the remaining members focused on Chao Qingxi and Lu Xiaoyu. Even if they had 2 Class Bs, 9 Class Cs could still win against 1 Class B due to the drastic difference in number. In the meantime, however, Lu Shu was playing Chinese chess with Lu Xiaoyu, Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiu. They bet $5 for each round. Chao Qingxi was reading quietly beside them. The book in her hands had changed to Einstein's relativity from a brief history of time. None of them paid any attention to the noise outside. The chess game was a rather intense one. Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiu felt as if they had been tricked, as Lu Shu and Lu Xiaoyu could coordinate with each other too well. Not only so, Cheng Qiuqiu was targeting Chen Zuan too. Chen Xuan did not have good game ethics. He always wanted to recall his step after realizing that he had unwittingly helped his opponents. At this moment, Chang Qiuqiao would stare at him coldly. No retraction of a chess move. Do you not know that? But Chen Xuan was very cheeky. Chang Qiuqiao's words had no effect on him at all. At first, Lu Shu was not bothered to interfere either. But when Chen Xuan lifted up his chess piece after realizing that he had helped Lu Shu looked at him expressionlessly and said, "No moving of a chess piece after retraction." Lu Xiaoyu rolled her eyes at Lu Shu at once, while Chang Qiuqiao stared at him in astonishment. As always, Brother Shu had better ways. From Chen Xuan's distress, plus 666. The little fatty obeyed reluctantly. At this moment, the expression on Chen Xuan's face suddenly turned strange. He sat uneasily in his seat and his face had turned red. After a short pause, Lu Shu warned, "You are dead if you dare to shit in the lab." Immediately Chen Xuan dashed to an unoccupied room in the lab and shouted, "I'm going to break through." Lu Shu and Lu Xiaoyu looked at each other in surprise. Indeed, it was about time. Unexpectedly, though, his breakthrough had happened so casually. Meanwhile, Luotian students were still arguing with the other colleges that victory would be theirs with just 2 Class Bs in the contest. In any case, it was an honor by itself that they had 2 Class B batchmates in their school. At this moment, however, they heard wild, loud laughter from somewhere in the school building. I, Chen Xuan, have become a Class B too. That was totally unexpected. A Northwest College student had just posted that, "We can exhaust you with long battles even if you have 2 Class Bs." After a moment of silence, a Luotian student replied, "Now we have 3. Chapter 787, The Storm is Coming. When the news that Luotian Cultivation College had 3 Class Bs suddenly came out, there was only one line in other students' minds: your college was cheating. If they still had a chance to win against 2 Class Bs through prolonged battles, defeating 3 Class Bs was way beyond the ability of any of the schools. At first, they regarded Luotian Cultivation College as the most insignificant rival, but it turned out that they were actually the greatest. Indeed, it was at that moment that all the other students suddenly felt that they were going to face the final boss of a video game. Moreover, there were 3 bosses in total. That got everybody confused. Why was everyone around Lord Lu so powerful too? But there was no concrete evidence that Chen Xuan had truly ascended to Class B. After all Class A aptitude geniuses had met him at the military camp and they all knew that Chen Xuan's aptitude was not as good as theirs. Hence, he had even been despised as someone who relied on unscrupulous means. There were rumors that he had joined the line of Class A aptitude geniuses only because of his connection with Chen Bailey. Otherwise, his sudden appearance in the team would be inexplicable. Yet, this fellow, whose aptitude was worse than the rest, had actually attained Class B before the others. What the heck? Did he feed on magical stones all day? He must have been snacking on magical stones to accelerate his cultivation. Nonetheless, at this moment, many Class A aptitude geniuses still refused to believe that Chen Xuan was officially a Class B. They told the other students, they must be bragging. We shall not fall for their lame tricks. In fact, all teams would conduct situational analysis prior to the contest. Thus, thanks to the information provided by Class A aptitude geniuses, all of the teams were aware that Chang Qiuqiao and Chen Xuan were not a threat as the former had yet to awaken to any powers, while the latter was not equipped with Class A aptitude. As for the rest, Chao Qingxi was a difficult opponent and Lu Xiaoyu's combat abilities after her recent ascension remained unknown. At the start, all of them were full of confidence and none paid attention to Chen Xuan. But it was precisely this guy that had attained Class B ahead of the rest. What a joke. Hence, all of them had decided not to believe that Chen Xuan had ascended to Class B. It must have been a lie. But at this moment, someone posted photos in which the little fatty was testing his various physical abilities in the training room following his breakthrough. That could not be fake. Meanwhile, Lu Shu was confused. Why had he received so many distress points when it was Chen Xuan who had successfully ascended? However, what he did not know was that many people had attributed Lu Xiaoyu's and Chen Xuan's class ascension to him. Honestly speaking, they had a point. Lu Shu felt as if he was a parent because not only did he have to cook for Lu Xiaoyu and Little Fury every day, he also had to prevent the fights between Cheng Qiuqiao and Chen Xuan. Now that the two best friends suddenly became enemies, Lu Shu was having quite a headache. It was also at this moment when Lu Shu suddenly noticed a change in popular topic on the Golden Foundation forum. At first, it was only rumors along the lines of "Go to the Changbai Mountains now. There are treasures there." While some people joked about forming teams to search for the treasures, none of them made any moves because they found the credibility of the information questionable. But today, another anonymous account started posting about myths of the Changbai Mountains, and claimed that the rumors could be true. Lu Shu was sensitive to manipulation of public discourse and he believed that there was someone behind this as well. Moreover, those people were spreading the news through seemingly unreliable myths. It was highly likely that their hidden intentions would be exposed one day, so Lu Shu believed. Nevertheless, some people entertained the idea. There was a post that went, "Actually, why not just go and take a look? Just take it as a holiday. We can enter via Port Artyom and head southwest straight into the Changbai mountain range. In any case, I don't think the Heavenly Network would block us outside their territory. Then, we can wander around in the mountains and try our luck there. Anyway, the scenery itself is worth the trip." That provided safe route for the entire cultivation world to enter the Changbai Mountains. In addition, the range of activity of the red sparrows only covered the northwestern parts of Russia, and Port Artyom was beyond their territory. However, there were other small-scale organizations scattered in other parts of the country and it seemed that the red sparrows had no intention to wipe them all out. Immediately Lu Shu called Li Xianyi to express his concerns, and the latter had also confirmed that there was an increase in the number of unknown accounts on the Golden Foundation forum recently. In the past, the Golden Foundation had promised that they would not track every user account. But they certainly had to pay close attention to the ongoing discussion that was causing a wave in the public. Li Xianyi said, "I will have my eyes on this matter myself. In any case, we will spare no effort in finding out the truth about anything related to the ancient Yi clan. When I am free, I will visit the Changbai Mountains personally or arrange a meetup with Nieting to sort out everything." "By the way, have you got your sword spirit yet, old man?" asked Lu Shu. "Yeah," replied Li Xianyi with a laugh, "you've made a huge contribution to our Hall of Swords. You are the pioneer of a new way of cultivation." "Well," asked Lu Shu, "what can your sword spirit do? How is it like?" Then he heard Li Xianyi's hearty laughter on the other side of the phone. "My sword spirit can transform into swords of will. When it attaches to my flying sword, it adds immense power to my sword. Thus, I would say, I am much more confident in winning against the puppet masters now. Speaking of which, how about your sword spirit?" Lu Shu laughed with a guilty conscience. "Same as yours, of course." Apparently, the old man's sword spirit was in the shape of a sword, and only Lu Shu's was in human form. Moreover, his was not that reliable. There was no way he would admit what his sword spirit was capable of. Moreover, no one else knew that sword spirits could be like that besides those present at the battle between him and Satan. After he hung up the call, Lu Shu walked out with mixed feelings. He felt unfair for himself because the old man's sword spirit was clearly much more powerful and cooler than his. Then he eavesdropped on some other student's conversation. "I heard that the entire Luzhou team is in the internet cafe right now. Do you think all of them have been influenced by Heavenly King Feng Yeming? Let's go and take a look. Have you ever seen a Heavenly King playing PC games? Never for me, at least." Lu Shu thought about it and decided to follow the group for a look. Until then, The streets around Luotian Cultivation College were bustling with businesses as the stall owners were all aware that those cultivation students could make a lucrative market. The internet cafe was right beside the black market and it was always occupied by secret practitioners on usual days. As soon as Lu Shu entered the door, he sensed a strong smell of cigarettes and heard loud shouts of cursing. It appeared that the competitive PC games had pissed off some players. Lu Shu looked over and, to his surprise, it was the 5 candidates from Luzhou that were causing the commotion. Among them, 4 were burning in fury, while Feng Yeming was seated calmly like a gentleman. Lu Shu silently approved his good public manners. Then, after 2 minutes, he suddenly realized that Feng Yeming was the one being chided. Chapter 788, Feng Yeming who had materialized the world. Lu Shu's first impression of Feng Yeming was a hidden genius in the esports circle. He imagined him to be an esports lover who had no choice but to give up his gamer dream due to his role as a heavenly king. After all, when Lu Shu met him for the first time, the way he carried his mouse and hot pink keyboard looked very professional and confident. But never had Lu Shu expected that his deductions were all wrong. Truth be told, he was not familiar with gaming. Thus, he could not tell whether Feng Yeming's skills were up to standard. Nevertheless, Lu Shu had some general knowledge about games, such as guarding the highlands. He had learned this from Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao, and had even watched them demonstrate in the lab. Yet, Feng Yeming did not play by the rules. He wandered about aimlessly while his teammates were having a hard time guarding the highlands. This made Lu Shu very confused. Lu Shu watched 2 rounds of games and realized that Feng Yeming seemed to be indulging in his own single-player mode, and this had resulted in his team losing 2 consecutive rounds. That could explain the students' grudges towards this heavenly king. Lu Shu felt that he would complain about him too if he were in his team. But Feng Yeming was a good-tempered guy and he did not mind the cursing at all. When he saw Lu Shu, he suddenly stood up and packed up his gadgets. Then, he told the other students, "I got to go now. You may continue." The other students noticed Lu Shu too, and they knew Feng Yeming had probably quit the game because of him. Lu Shu believed that he would have received an influx of plus 1,000 happiness points if he had such system because he had given the students a chance to finally win. As Feng Yeming walked towards Lu Shu, he asked, "Do you know me?" "Of course I want to know you, Lord Lu. Although I couldn't find any photos of you, I knew it must be you when you first talked to me," Feng Yeming explained with a warm smile. He was telling the truth. When they just met, he did not know Lu Shu's identity and he had only smiled at him out of courtesy. But 1 second later, Lu Shu's unique style of remark gave him away. Currently, the classification level of Lu Shu's files was incredibly high. Thus, even Feng Yeming was not able to access them. He could only make a guess according to his knowledge of Lu Shu's personality, though this information alone was sufficient. It was the same case for many singers. You would know who they were once they started singing, even though you had never seen their faces. And Lu Shu shared a commonality with those singers. Usually, you would probably know it was him once he started talking to you. Lu Shu asked curiously, "I saw your teammates complain about you. Are you really cool with it?" Feng Yeming replied calmly, "Everyone should live their own life, according to their own pace, and this should not be disrupted because of other people's views." "Oh, I see. Is this why you pranked them?" Lu Shu asked, still in astonishment, "How did you even awaken to your powers?" "I mean, you are a gamer." Feng Yeming sighed. "My understanding about games is different from theirs. Thus, my team members always scold me when I play games with them. Some of them even threatened that they would find me and beat me up. Thus, for self-protection and for my love for esports, I had to awaken to my powers." Lu Shu was dumbfounded. What kind of reason was that? It's a joke. So how many enemies had you made when playing games? What's wrong with you? Why did you seem as if you had awakened because you were left with no other choice? But Lu Shu noticed another key point in Feng Yeming's words. Wait a minute. I didn't know you are a metahuman. I'm not a practitioner. I'm a 100% pure metahuman, Feng Yeming replied with a peaceful smile. That made Lu Shu curious. Why do you not practice cultivation? A waste of time. Is it not enough that nobody dares to fight me after I got my powers? But for cultivation, I have to practice all night. That's the prime time for gaming. Feng Yeming explained with all seriousness. Lu Shu was even more surprised by this guy's mindset. How could he discard cultivation just because it took up his gaming time? What type of powers did you awaken to? Asked Lu Shu. Materialization, Feng Yeming replied. His smile was appropriate and polite, as though it had been trained. This was Lu Shu's first time to encounter a materialization type in China. He asked, what can you materialize? Rumors had it that the materialization type was the weakest, as any elemental attacks they conjured up were not as powerful as their original counterparts. However, Lu Xiaoyu's Johnson could materialize Lu Shu's clones, which made his abilities more useful. But how about Feng Yeming? He must be strong enough to be a heavenly king. I can materialize all the skills I've used in games. Feng Yeming grinned. For some reason, they work pretty well in real life. As he spoke, a shadow flickered on his palms. Yet, the energy waves emitted from it were way more powerful as compared to an ordinary Class B attack. At that instant Lu Shu realized that things were not as simple as what Feng Yeming had described. Instead of imitating the virtual abilities, Feng Yeming had conjured up a completely new world order. Then, he created skills under those rules, to transcend his own power level so as to obtain the force depicted in games. It was also at that moment when the thought suddenly struck Lu Shu that the greatest strength of the materialization-type metahumans was their ability to conjure up a whole new world system. Lu Shu's brains throbbed as he struggled to digest the huge amount of information. As it turned out, this gamer boy had received a blessing in disguise. Moreover, he had underplayed the true power of his abilities, and Lu Shu suspected that this boy was in fact unimaginably powerful. But he had another question. Could he have uncovered a new path for the materialization type? Was it the reason Feng Yeming's real powers had always been highly classified by the Heavenly Network? But at this moment, a student shouted over from the other side of the internet cafe. Heavenly King Feng, your brother Heavenly King Feng Yinlu wants a 1v1 with you. He even said that you are no match for him at all. Having heard that, a furious look crossed over Feng Yeming's composed face. Screw him. Tell him to create a room and wait for me. I'll beat him flat. Then, Feng Yeming rushed back to his seat with his mouse and keyboard in his arms. Lu Shu was speechless. When Lu Shu studied the name list of Heavenly Kings last time, he wondered if Feng Yeming and Feng Yinlu were relatives since they shared the same surname. And now his speculation had been proven right. Nevertheless, the brothers were assigned to different places. Feng Yeming was allocated to Shanzhou, followed by Luzhou, while his brother was in charge of Mengzhou. But why were there two gamer boys among the Heavenly Kings? Feng Yeming, who seemed uninterested in most things in the world, had suddenly become an aggressive player when it came to games. Speaking of which, could Feng Yinlu be a materialization-type metahuman as well? Lu Shu told Lu Xiaoyu about this interesting encounter of his after he reached home. Then, he asked her, do you want to play games? It seems that materialization-type metahumans can make pretty good gamers. But Lu Xiaoyu rejected his offer mercilessly. Nah. Pass. Chapter 789, A Game of Chess. Lu Shu's impression of the Heavenly Network was always changing. When Lu Shu first encountered the Heavenly Network at the Temple Fair, he thought that the Heavenly Network was dangerous. He had awakened and was afraid that the Heavenly Network would take him away to conduct research. He was also scared that he would be made to work to death. Later on, when Nie Ting came to find Li Xianyi, his imposing aura left a deep impression on Lu Shu. Back then, Lu Shu felt that was like the embroidered uniform guard one. He could not provoke them. Later on, he encountered Li Yixiao. Lu Shu suddenly realized that there were such heavenly kings in the heavenly network. Furthermore, the heavenly network was not as harsh as he had expected. To the extent that, you would occasionally encounter heavenly kings who were not respectable. When he met Lu Shu understood the meaning of camaraderie and faith in the heavenly network. When Lu Shu encountered Xiao Yongchen, his feelings grew stronger. Now that there were two heavenly kings who were addicted to the internet, Lu Shu did not know what to feel. But the competition was about to begin. Lu Shu still had duties to fulfill. He could not care much about this now. At the same time, Li Xianyi flew overseas and headed towards the Changbai Mountains. The Golden Foundation had been involved with the puppet masters for many years. When they realized that their top powers were no longer equally matched with the puppet masters, they often held emergency meetings with the directors. One of the most important matters discussed was to focus on the experts who had the potential to advance to Class A. They could only challenge the puppet masters with more Class A's. If not, a battle would exhaust the Golden Foundation's resources. People like Ji Wei were close to advancement. Even the Heavenly Network could not match up to the heritage of the Golden Foundation. Everyone was focused on breaking through. Thus, Li Xianyi was the only one handling external affairs. Not everyone could advance to Class A, it required aptitude and class. Ji Wei had been stuck at peak Class B for a full 6 months. Even after Li Xianyi had explained the epiphanies of advancement to him, it only provided him with clues. He had to do it himself. Some were already stuck at the bottleneck. They were unable to break through even after a year. It was as if heaven and earth had given up on them and did not want to cooperate with them. Li Xianyi had flown through the clouds and started his descent. The thick clouds seemed unwilling to part with him and wound around him like silk threads. But Li Xianyi was too fast. The clouds immediately dissipated. He did not land within the country. The Changbai Mountains stretched over hundreds of kilometers. Li Xianyi was at a mountain peak outside the country called Jiangjun Peak. Li Xianyi called Nie Ting. "I am at Jiangjun Peak. Please give me permission to enter the country." Nie Ting calmly said over the phone, "The Heavenly Network welcomes you." Li Xianyi had talked to Nie Ting personally about coming to the Changbai Mountains to patrol the area. A week ago, Li Xianyi had thought that Nie Ting would not allow a member of the Golden Foundation to enter the country. After Li Xianyi had returned to the Golden Foundation and became the chief director, their interests had become very different. The agreements established in the past were also cancelled. But Li Xianyi did not expect Nie Ting to agree. Nie Ting simply told him which areas he could not go to. The sword formation only recognized Nie Ting, and he could confirm that whatever was inside the sword formation had nothing to do with the ancient Yi clan treasure. No one was around to stop Li Xianyi. It was possible that no one else knew he was here. But he had promised Nie Ting that he would ask for the opinion of the Heavenly Network before entering the country. He was like a man of virtue who did not care whether there was anyone around him. He would always be strict with himself. He told Nie Ting because he had to. He felt that this was correct, and it aligned with his personal values. After Li Xianyi received permission, he once again flew into the sky. He started to search the entire Changbai Mountains seriously. At that moment, a picture of Li Xianyi flying in the Changbai Mountains suddenly appeared on the Golden Foundation forum. The person who uploaded the photo had definitely planned this out. Some users said that Li Xianyi already knew that there was something unusual in the Changbai Mountains. The treasure would appear soon. The ordinary practitioners and metahumans did not know why Li Xianyi had gone to the Changbai Mountains. Now, first impressions were the strongest. Everyone believed that Li Xianyi had found something unusual because of the media. Of course, the Golden Foundation realized that someone had deliberately orchestrated this. They were very malicious and had done thorough preparation. If not, how would they be able to take a picture of Li Xianyi? This was definitely a major conspiracy. The Golden Foundation quickly deleted the post, blocked the search and suspended the account. However, when they checked the IP address, they could not find the culprit. But the culprit was not afraid of their account being suspended. They created 3 new accounts. Even the practitioners who were observing the situation grew suspicious. The entire forum started to talk about this incident. They could not shut down the forum for now. If they did, others would grow even more suspicious. There were already people saying that the Golden Foundation wanted to take the treasure of the ancient Yi clan for themselves. Even Li Xianyi had most likely not expected that the culprit did not think that the rumors would be enough to trick secret practitioners and other large organizations to go to the Changbai Mountains. It was as if they had known from the very beginning that a member from the Golden Foundation would go. They would then use the Golden Foundation to make everyone believe that this was true. At this point, very few people would believe what the Golden Foundation said. Even the secret practitioners who owed the Golden Foundation a favor were somewhat suspicious. Lu Shu once said that this world was evil. Someone who has always done good deeds might be misunderstood because of one incident and subsequently fall. On the other hand, when someone who has always done evil deeds occasionally does good deeds, people would praise them. They would say, humans are still decent. What is in the past had never happened. But at that moment, Lu Shu, who had been observing, suddenly realized that the culprit had turned its attention to the heavenly network, after making everyone believe that there was a treasure in the Changbai Mountains. It was as if all the plans had been designed in advance. The culprit was systematically going through every step. It was like a genius chess player who had already thought about how he could defeat his enemy. The vast realm of cultivation was his chess board. But Lu Shu did not react. After all, the heavenly network had Nie Ting in charge. He was the only Shinsong Jing in the world. Who would dare to provoke them? Suddenly, a new threat appeared. Lu Shu furrowed his eyebrows and scrolled down. The thread said that there was someone in the heavenly network who could capture spirits and control them. A former Class B expert had his spirit taken away. He would never be able to achieve peace. The thread did not reveal who this heavenly network member was, but Lu Shu broke out in a cold sweat. This was one of his and Lu Xiaoyu's greatest secrets. Chapter 790, Chess Player and Chess Pieces. Lu Shu had an unpleasant premonition, as Lu Xiaoyu's spirit had been produced because of the celestial map. They had always been very careful so that they would not be discovered by others. In reality, the combination of Anthony and Johnson was easy to hide. An Earth-type metahuman could easily hide underground with Johnson. Furthermore, Johnson did not need to be exposed during close combat. There were times when he had to be exposed, for example back then, when he controlled the Class D expert spirit to collect blood samples. Although they had not completely avoided surveillance, they were already very careful. Furthermore, who would check so much surveillance footage? They had not made use of Anthony often in China either. There were so many oddities that Lu Shu did not know who the culprit was. The culprit had only posted a thread that pointed out a member of the heavenly network. Lu Shu could not confirm that the culprit had only discovered Lu Xiaoyu's identity by coincidence, or had verified it. He wanted to reply to the thread and attack the culprit verbally. He would be able to find out the culprit's real name through the distress points earned. But he had to be cautious, as he did not know whether the culprit had other tricks up their sleeve. Lu Shu was different from the culprit. He had not made sufficient preparations. The culprit could hide their identity even after posting a thread, but it was very likely that Lu Shu would be exposed by his IP address or other leads. Although he had the entire heavenly network behind him, Lu Shu had not even dared to tell the heavenly network about Lu Xiaoyu's ability. At first, when he and Lu Xiaoyu realized that she could collect souls, they were extremely careful. This was because they knew others would see this as a taboo. It could even be considered as a dark ritual by those with a sense of justice. Even those who possessed this ability considered it evil. This was the first time Lu Shu felt a real sense of danger, as well as the first time he broke out into a cold sweat after seeing a thread. It was as if he and Lu Xiaoyu had been trapped by a large net. They did not even know what the culprit was up to. Li Xianyi did not even realize that his picture was taken. How could they act recklessly? Lu Shu stayed on his phone. He wanted to see whether there were any other clues that could shed light on the identity of the culprit. He was also waiting for their next move. It was a whirlwind inside his head. He wanted to find a way to earn distress points without being discovered. He could act as a passerby and verbally abuse the culprit. Lu Shu continuously refreshed the page. Suddenly, the user posted another thread. The account had not been suspended as it did not explicitly mention the ancient Yi clan. Lu Shu opened the thread. To his surprise, he saw a blurry photo. It was taken at the Kochang Island. The photographer seemed to have been following Lu Xiaoyu from a distance before taking a photo of Lu Xiaoyu experimenting with Johnson, while Anthony laughed at the side. Their faces were blurry as the picture was taken from a distance, but Anthony's laughter was like a lighthouse in the dark, but Lu Xiaoyu had been cropped out of the picture. Back then, Lu Xiaoyu had just obtained Johnson's soul. It was normal for her to experiment with Johnson in a secluded place on Kochang Island. Lu Shu knew that the culprit had definitely taken a picture of Lu Xiaoyu, since they had taken a picture of Anthony and Johnson on Kochang Island. But why was Lu Xiaoyu cropped out? So their aim was not the Golden Foundation, the secret practitioners, or even the Heavenly Network, it was him. Of course, he could not be sure of what was happening. He could only continue to observe. Suddenly, the user commented. How painful would it be for your soul to be taken away after your death? Lu Shu was silent for 2 seconds. He then commented. Look at his expression. Isn't he quite happy? When the other users saw Lu Shu's comment, they were speechless. Lu Shu waited for distress points. But it was as if the culprit did not look at the comments after they had posted. They had disappeared. Others provided him with around 10 distress points. After all, it was just an insult. But the culprit should have provided him with more points. However, there were none. Lu Shu believed that many people had planned to go to the Changbai Mountains. At first, they did not believe the information. But now, even if they claimed that they did not believe the news, they were planning on how they would go to the Changbai Mountains. Of course, the culprit was slowly moving ahead with their plan. They would make use of the Golden Foundation and Li Xianyi's deep concern towards the ancient Yi clan to make a firm conclusion. How amazing! Lu Shu was planning to kill. No matter who this person was, they had to die. This had not happened by accident. The culprit was making full use of this incident. Even if Lu Xiaoyu had been cropped out, Lu Shu would not tolerate this. No matter who you are, I will find you and I will kill you. Lu Shu was furious. When Lu Xiaoyu heard that Lu Shu wanted to kill, her expression turned cold. She was ready to kill as well. She turned and asked Lu Shu, "Are we going to the Changbai Mountains then?" Lu Shu was silent for 2 seconds. No. From Lu Xiaoyu's distress, plus 166. Lu Xiaoyu was speechless. Didn't you want to kill them? We may not be their objective. Of course we can't go, explained Lu Shu. They are controlling everything now. We cannot walk into their home ground. Even if we want to kill, we should kill them later. But what did he have that the culprit was so concerned about? Lu Shu suddenly felt that there were many things that others would be interested in. Refresher fruits, the Chang'ing sword, the head-twisting gourd, chaos, so many. He still had the celestial map. Lu Xiaoyu was also silent for 2 seconds. This is my first time seeing someone who is able to still be so logical even when they are terrified. From Lu Shu's distress, plus 166. Lu Shu decided to set these aside for now. He felt that if he did not go despite this, the culprit would give him some distress points, right? Furthermore, the culprit was very secretive. Evidently, they did not dare to face the Heavenly Network directly. Unless, the Heavenly Network wanted to eliminate them because of the problem with Lu Xiaoyu's techniques? Lu Shu did not want to see that day come, because he had acknowledged the Heavenly Network. Although strictly speaking, they could not be considered friends, Lu Shu had considered the Heavenly Network as his friends in his heart. This world was growing more and more dangerous. Lu Shu suddenly realized that he had to work even harder to protect everything he cared about. Lu Shu had never thought about being a chess player like the culprit, but he wanted to be a chess piece that could escape the board. Even if he could only be a pawn, he would kill whoever wanted to control him.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty, man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens,